Hey, Lord J and Geordie Lishman here driving today.
Hello.
Wanting to share a perspective that we each have a different languaging around, which I feel is the common theme that we've all been divided by these boxes of belief systems that we say are words that mean different things because of the syntax, semantics, and semiotics of things. So, is there anything you want to add to that, Geordie, before we dig into the quarry of the mind today?
No, but it is a very difficult subject, this idea of how we all have different language for this emotional world, because I don't think there's anybody who wants to give up their language. So it's hard to find a neutral ground.
Right. So I appreciate you very much for being willing to have this conversation and share your perspective. Baseline road is where we pass. So I'm going to share my insight, or perspective rather, of the inner quarry station that I would then love for you to share your German New Medicine perspective and everything else you bring to the table along with that system that you have found so much benefit from. Okay, so the concept of the quarry station is that if you imagine there is a quarry and a cave, and we're taking this cart from the quarry to the cave on a track. And then we go into the cave and we chisel and chip and get as much rock, rubble, and debris from inside of this cave that equates to the mind, from my perspective. And then we put it into this cart and we start pushing the cart towards the quarry station of the heart, or the heart of hearts, as we were talking earlier, which is the subconscious. And essentially, along the way, it gets harder to move this cart along because of all of the rock and rubble that has fallen onto the track, which I equate to be a neurotrack of the mind, that then you find it gets too hard, we get frustrated, overwhelmed, feeling defeated, insecure, not enough, all of those stories that we run based on the tracks that we've got trapped by previously along these neuro tracks, that then we dump the cart over and we go back into the mind in order to find more, because the obsession with more is a cultural obsession. And we don't generally get all the way to the quarry. So that is the perspective that I have been marinating in and sharing, that I feel your view of the equivalent from a German New Medicine and your perspective could really benefit people to hear and comprehend.
So I'm trying to understand what you're saying, because a quarry is where you do drawing out of minerals, but you're going from a cave, which is obviously a mine because you're mining it. Mm-hmm. So that the cave you're talking about is a mine, not just a cave. And then you're taking it back to the heart, which is the quarry. But I just don't understand the analogy there. So I thought you'd more be taking it back to a smelting or a processing station where you'd want to take the ore and turn it into precious metal. Is that what you meant? Or so you don't mean a quarry, you mean a processing station or something?
Yes.
Okay. So that you're saying you're going to go into the mind and you're going to find those old traumas, you're going to try to bring them out and bring it to the heart so you can somehow relieve it.
Instead of relive it. Yes.
Right. But along the tracks you have rubble that prevents you from actually having that happen.
So then we relive it instead of relieve it.
We relive it instead of relieve it, because you just leave it in the mind.
And we create all kinds of tracks, of neuros tracks and stories about that which we don't know how to actually process, which are the energies in motion that need to rise through the heart.
So I'm trying to like figure out how your analogy would fit into a German medicine more style process of therapeutic, relief of symptoms. So we would want to go into the mind, and well, first of all, we have to know what we're looking for. So by knowing what your symptoms are, you're knowing that you're looking for specific types of traumas around specific times. So you would go into your mind and you would investigate to see where that is. Once we find that particular vein of mineral or that particular type of trauma, then you would kind of investigate it emotionally and see if emotions rise, in which when they do, you can be sure that that's probably the source of your symptoms. So then you have to confront them and deal with them in a real way that is actually true to you. So that would be, I guess, what you're talking about, taking it out of the mind to the processing plant, where you're going to become conscious of this subconscious program that's been running within you the entire time, causing the symptoms. So, and then you say like it builds up and you get stuff on the tracks. Well, maybe that's what you're talking about. Like, say you have a problem, which is a separation from your child, I think we were talking about. But, because of the circumstances, there's not really anything you can do to resolve it. And, like you could say, just get over missing your children, but that's much easier said than done, because they're part of you and you long for them, and there's a deep subconscious, or there's a deep program within us to try to protect them. And trying to disarm that is, really going against your nature. But, when you bring things to consciousness, it's not necessarily that you have to go against your nature, but you can understand your nature, and even in the understanding of nature, you can allow some forgiveness for yourself for not being there for them, because it's beyond your control. So there are ways to clear that type of rubble, if that's what you're talking about. Is that kind of where we're going?
I think it's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. It's helping people actually clear the tracks so that we can get back to the pattern underneath of the story.
The tracks are a big thing in German medicine, but in German medicine, a track is a subconscious trigger that would relate back to the scenario, like perhaps when the moment you realized that you were going to be separated from your children and there was nothing to do it, there was a song playing, or there was a specific smell, and then when you read that song and that smell comes up, then the symptoms of that separation, which would be all kinds of different possibilities, would arise when that track has been triggered, because it's been associated to that traumatic moment. But the tracks you're talking about, I think, are kind of different, but I was just putting that little relationship in there.
Yeah. And I think this is what is so valuable about the perspective you bring to the table, that I bring to the table, and that you who review this message we're doing live, unscripted and totally off the cuff, to be able to actually break these things down in ways that make us clear our throat, to get over the blockages that we might feel around where we're at and the value we have to contribute, or how right we might be, or if we have anything to contribute, and all of these ways that we're called to move the energies in each of the chakras down to the heart, where we can then start to bring our creative babies into the world through the lower chakras, which I don't know what the chakra system connection with German New Medicine is, or if there is one, so I'm curious on that too.
Well, I don't think they directly address it in the German New Medicine at all, but I would guess myself that essentially the chakras are central for different organs, and those organs are tied to the chakras. So at the very base root chakra is your colon and your sphincter. That's the earth chakra. And just above that is the bladder, which is the water chakra. And then above that is your digestive system, which is the fire chakra, which is where you get the energy out of the food. You burn your food there. And then above above that is the heart and rhythm chakra, which is your breath and your heart, your lungs and your heart. And then above that is the throat, which is the space and time, and I can't remember, there's another relationship I made the other day, but that's where your vocal cords are. So I think that there's energy points because all of your organs hold energy, and they obviously correlate to the relays in your mind that control them. So the mind is there to understand reality, and the relays then interpret reality from your mind's point of view, tell your organs how to behave so that you can survive.
So are you saying that the mind actually directs the organs?
Well, your experience and understanding of the world directs the organs through the mind. So your mind, it's kind of unknown exactly where consciousness is kept, but in any organism, we have lobes of the brain. There's all these different lobes of the mind, which are all dedicated towards thinking about a particular survival necessity, such as digestion, mating, reproduction, safety, and protection. So depending on what organ its function is, you'll have a whole understanding of how the world works to understand whether you're in it. Like if you see delicious food and you know it's delicious food, you recognize that because of past experiences, and then you might start salivating. So right there you can see how the senses allowed you to perceive through your mind's understanding what was before you, so that the organ, your salivatory glands, can start producing something for digestion. So yes, in some ways.
That is so fascinating.
But it happens for every single organ. And some, we're just kind of, Western medicine hasn't quite caught on to the depth of that, because your heart just always beats. But something scares you that you become aware of, and your heart beats faster. However, that happens for too long, and you have a heart attack.
So, with that being said, and the resolution that comes when we actually do make it to the processing center with the debris from the cave of the mind down to the heart.
So I'm saying, like, you're saying the mind and the heart, but I guess I would use we use the mind to access the subconscious to bring it to consciousness, because our experiences are, we have many memories and many experiences, but they're not on the surface all the time because we're living in the present. But sometimes, something happens that led us to believe something that then puts our mind puts our subconscious into a program that is running because of our beliefs. And until we go back and address those beliefs and actually turn that program off, they will still be controlling the organs in which they are affected. So, if the organs are running unchecked, unchecked growth is essentially cancer.
And so the Western model or approach to cancer would be cut it out and get rid of it.
Yeah, or give you some chemo or mini beam, which is essentially, I think what it does really is it just puts you back into such a state of trauma that the cancer, which is actually trying to heal you by doing this unchecked growth, just says, okay, abandon that, we have bigger problems.
Right.
And then you say, oh, look, the cancer slowed down because we poisoned the shit out of you. Well, cancer will come back once you've come out of it, but the reality is once you have the crap poisoned out of you and your life threatened so much, your mind changes so much as priorities what's important to you. You may have gotten over whatever the small thing is that's been freaking you out, that's been causing the cancer to go in the first place.
Thank you for all of those perspectives. I want to keep this video short, and I want to actually listen back to this so that I can relate, because while traveling and maneuvering the vehicle through which these lands we're traveling, there has been a lot going on that I was very tempted to point out along the way, but not wanting to distract you from what you were actually saying on the focus track you were on.
You saw a lot of omens along the way?
Well, there was a lot going on, yes, and I am aware of my distractibility, or the wanting to bring in elements that correspond to where we're at in the story, with this moving picture story of life through my own interpretation, yet realizing that wouldn't have been as valuable to those who are trying to follow your track for me to divert attention onto something else. So I am just acknowledging that I wasn't fully able to be present in digesting everything you were saying because of what else was going on, and I know the same is true for those who may be watching this now and laughing at me, but maybe also being able to see themselves in that too.
Well, I am grateful that you didn't drive off the road and kill us both. So thank you for splitting your attention enough so that there was no accidents.
I wasn't even considering that as an option. It was just the other pieces that weren't a threat to us, but that also weren't necessary for people to be able to actually hear, to better understand the value of your input, and I look forward to reflecting on it. So you who have made it through this message today, look forward to more, and thank you, Geordie, very much for sharing all that you did today, and leave a comment down below if any questions have been triggered in you based on what was shared today, or comments, reflections, feedback. Would love to be able to see it so that we can take this deeper, for I do believe the German New Medicine system that you have shared is incredibly valuable, and I do believe the emotional perspective that I've been working with and through without the system or box specifically to be able to put it into is also very valuable, which I'm looking to put better walls around it to be able to create a system that can support us in blending realities so that we take the best of both worlds and make it something comprehensible that we can stand on and actually use to move through the energies within us to have a more functional internal environment.
Okie dokie.
And that is the sign I've been talking long enough. Lord J, Geordie Lishman, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a good one.